What if the peace you've been chasing doesn't come when you win, but when you finally stop fighting? Not in the moment of triumph, but in the quiet, sacred stillness that arrives after you surrender. Not because you gave up, but because you let go. There is a divine silence that only descends when you release your grip on how things should be and allow the universe to breathe through you. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand. It simply arrives softly, completely, undeniably. And if this message reaches you at the exact moment your soul needed it, trust that it's not an accident, it's alignment. Let the cosmos feel your resonance. Like this video, subscribe to stay on the path, and drop a I resonate or 111 in the comments to anchor this moment. Your journey is real, your timing is divine, and you are never walking this road alone. You must understand, this profound state of peace doesn't arise from a place of defeat or resignation. It is not the white flag of a lost battle. No, it is the divine awakening that occurs when you finally perceive with every fiber of your being that your white-knuckled grip on reality, your desperate forceful hold on a specific outcome, was the very thing creating the cosmic turbulence. It was your own spiritual resistance that was pushing your deepest desires further and further away, creating a reality of constant struggle. The more you tried to dictate the terms, the more you found yourself in a state of exhaustion, a spiritual warrior fighting a battle against the very flow of your own destiny. Think about the sheer energetic cost of this resistance. The more we grip, the more we try to force a connection, a result, or a feeling, the more we are operating from a low-frequency state of lack and fear. This is the energy of obsession, of constantly checking messages, of replaying conversations in your mind, of meticulously strategizing your next move as if life were a chess game you could win through sheer intellect. It's the overthinking that drains your spirit, the constant chasing that leaves you breathless and empty-handed, and the desperate need to control every variable that ultimately proves you are in control of nothing at all. You've been building a dam against the divine river of your life, wondering why you feel so thirsty. Life, in its infinite wisdom and grace, does not reward force with submission. It mirrors it with friction. It meets your resistance with its own, not as a punishment, but as a sacred teaching. It's a divine guidance system designed to show you where you are out of alignment with your own higher self. The universe isn't punishing you for trying. It's gently, and sometimes firmly, guiding you back to a state of flow, back to its own inherent and perfect rhythm. When you attempt to overpower this sacred rhythm, you are essentially trying to shout over the whisper of your own soul. You shatter the very harmony that was meticulously orchestrated to work in your favor, breaking the delicate flow that was meant to carry you effortlessly toward your highest good. And then, you stop. You let the phone lie silent. You release the outcome to the cosmos. You cease your endless mental gymnastics. You surrender. And in that sacred pause, a moment of pure, unadulterated trust, a subtle miracle begins to unfold. You've likely felt this before, haven't you? That moment you finally stopped obsessing over a particular person, only to have them reach out. The moment you let go of needing a specific job, and a far better opportunity appeared as if from thin air. The moment you stopped needing a certain goal to validate your existence, and your entire sense of self-worth blossomed from within. Things begin to shift, opportunities materialize, and your entire energetic frequency undergoes a powerful transformation. This is not magic, though it certainly feels like it. This is the law of divine alignment. It is the universe responding to your newfound stillness. By ceasing your frantic activity, you became a clear, resonant vessel, and everything else in the cosmos, everything that was already tuned to your soul's true frequency, finally had the space to move toward you. You became still, and the world began to move for you, not against you. Your surrender was not a passive act. It was the most powerful move you could have made. You shifted from the frantic, repellent energy of the chase to the calm, magnetic pull of a soul at peace with its own divine timing. Yet, we are conditioned to believe the exact opposite, aren't we? We live in a world that screams a constant, relentless mantra. Never stop trying, grind harder, sleep less, manifest through sheer will. This is the siren song of the material world, a doctrine that tells us our value is directly proportional to our effort and our struggle. And while that determined mindset can be a useful tool, a powerful engine for creation, it becomes a destructive force when it is not balanced with the wisdom of surrender. It is only one half of the divine equation. The hustle is meaningless without the trust. The grind is unsustainable without the grace. What if the next great breakthrough in your life doesn't come from pushing harder, but from letting go softer. This is the core paradox that so many of us struggle to embrace. Letting go isn't a declaration that you no longer care. It's a declaration that you trust. It means you are releasing the suffocating fear that if you loosen your grip for even a moment, your entire world will shatter into a million pieces. This fear is a powerful illusion, a lie whispered by an ego that believes it alone is responsible for holding your reality together. Letting go is the courageous act of calling that bluff. It means you are finally stepping back to give your dreams, your relationships, and your very life the sacred space they need to breathe. It's a conscious decision to stop smothering your desires with the heavy blanket of your anxiety and neediness. And once you do this, once you allow for that space, you begin to notice something truly remarkable. A subtle but potent shift occurs within your very being. The constant, tight pressure in your chest begins to loosen. The fog in your mind starts to clear, and your decisions become imbued with a newfound clarity and confidence. Your very presence becomes more attractive, more magnetic, because you are no longer radiating the desperate, low-vibration frequency of neediness or the harsh, repellent energy of resistance. When you're frantically trying to control everything, you are not living in the present moment. You are trapped in a perpetual state of survival mode. You're constantly trying to shield yourself from the potential sting of pain, the ache of rejection, or the grief of loss. You are living in a future that hasn't happened, or a past you cannot change, completely missing the power of the now. And here lies the most beautiful paradox of all. The moment you stop needing so desperately for everything to unfold in one specific, predetermined way, things begin to arrange themselves in a manner that is far more beautiful and aligned than anything your limited mind could have ever conceived. It's not because you gave up and settled for less. It's because you finally, courageously stepped out of your own way. You allowed a higher intelligence, the source energy of the universe, to co-create with you, to guide you, and to lead you. Letting go is not the final chapter. It is the invitation for a new, more authentic story to begin. It's the end of one kind of struggle, and the beginning of a life lived in a state of grace and flow, without the constant, draining friction of resistance. When we first hear the words "let go," the conditioned mind immediately panics. It equates this sacred act with loss, with failure, with giving up control, and surrendering to the terrifying unknown of chaos. But what if this deep-seated misunderstanding is the very anchor that has been keeping your ship stuck in the harbor for all these years? You must understand, true spiritual letting go is not about loss. It is about the removal of friction. It's about oiling the gears of your own life so that things can move with the ease and grace they were always meant to. Take a moment and reflect. How many of your current struggles are born not from the external circumstances themselves, but from the rigid, unyielding way you are gripping onto the idea of how you believe things should be happening? The internal narrative of your expectations is often the source of your greatest pain. You expect a relationship to progress on a specific timeline. You expect people to behave in a way that aligns with your personal rulebook. You expect a career goal to be the ultimate source of your happiness. All of these expectations, these silent demands you place upon yourself and the world, become heavy, invisible chains. They generate a constant, subtle pressure on your soul, on your interactions, and on every potential outcome. And this very pressure is what repels the very things you are trying to receive. This is precisely why the act of letting go is so profoundly powerful. It's not a magic trick that instantly fixes your external world. It is the sacred act of removing the invisible, self-imposed force that was working against you all along, your attachment. Attachment is not love. Let that sink into the very marrow of your bones. Attachment is fear wearing the mask of devotion. It is the ego's desperate plea that whispers, "If I don't keep pushing this, if I don't hold on this tightly, it will inevitably fall apart." And ironically, it is this very push, this very clinging, that often causes the beautiful, delicate structure to collapse under the weight of your fear. You can love someone with all your heart and still let go of the need to control them. You can desire something with every cell of your being and still release the obsession with how and when it will arrive. The moment you detach your sense of identity, your very worthiness, from the final result, you begin to move through the world with a deep, unshakable peace instead of a frantic, desperate panic. This is the pivotal shift that changes everything. You stop asking, "How can I get this?" And you start asking, "What would my next step be if I knew with absolute certainty that I am already whole?" That one question dissolves the pressure. And in the space that opens up, something rare and beautiful begins to happen. You start to feel truly free. Your nervous system finally relaxes. Your interactions become lighter, more playful. The people around you feel less suffocated by your unspoken expectations. Your intuition, long muffled by the noise of your anxiety, begins to sharpen. And without even consciously realizing it, you stop chasing and you start effortlessly attracting. Letting go is not a passive, lazy state of inaction. It is not about sitting back and waiting for life to happen to you. It is a powerful, active, internal decision to release the tension you have been carrying for so long. It is a profound act of faith, a deep trust that what is divinely meant for you will not require you to force it, beg for it, or manipulate it into staying. This doesn't mean you cease to show up in your life. You still take inspired action. You still make a conscious effort. But now, your actions are no longer tangled in the thorny weeds of desperation or fear. You act from a place of clarity instead of a place of chaos. And that clarity, that high vibrational state, changes everything. But here is where most people get it wrong. They believe that letting go means they are no longer allowed to care, that to release is to become numb, passive, or indifferent. That is not it at all. In fact, true letting go demands a kind of inner strength, a spiritual fortitude that most people never access, because what you are truly doing is releasing control without abandoning your intention. You still desire the loving relationship. You still want to heal and be whole. You still hold the vision of your dreams becoming reality, but you no longer need these things to fill a perceived hole inside of you. And that is the part that changes the entire dynamic. Because when you cling to something, what you're really telling yourself on a deep subconscious level is that you are not enough without it. You are telling the universe that you are not okay unless you get it, that your worth, your peace, and your joy are on hold, pending the delivery of something outside of yourself. And here's what's so wild. The universe tends to mirror that exact energy back to you. You chase love, and love runs. You grip your future, and it resists. You obsess over healing, and it slips away. It's not because you are unworthy, but because your very attachment to the result is blocking the sacred process. You are planting seeds in a garden while simultaneously stomping on the soil, preventing them from growing. Letting go interrupts that self-sabotaging loop. It removes the noise and creates a sacred internal space. And it is in this space that things finally begin to align, not because of blind luck, but because you are no longer distorting the signal with your own static. It's like tuning a radio. If you twist the dial too aggressively, you'll fly right past the station. But when your hand is steady and your mind isn't anxious about hearing the music right now, the frequency comes in with perfect clarity. That is how your life works too. You stop chasing, and the right people feel safe to come closer. You stop micromanaging your every move, and creativity returns. You stop trying to control every part of the journey, and your natural rhythm, the one that was buried under layers of anxiety, starts to rise again. And this rhythm, this authentic frequency of your soul, is magnetic. People feel it. Life responds to it. You feel lighter, more centered, and less drained. Your energy becomes rooted and powerful. And ironically, once you are no longer desperately trying to force things to happen, they start falling into place, not because you gave up, but because you finally, beautifully, got out of your own way. Now, here's the part no one really talks about. Letting go doesn't always feel peaceful, at least not at first. In fact, sometimes it feels like grief. You are releasing the illusion of control. You are stepping away from people, outcomes, and ideas that you once believed were essential to your happiness. There's fear in that. There's a fear that maybe you're giving up too soon, a fear that without your constant, vigilant effort, everything will fall apart. A fear that by loosening your grip, you're telling the world you don't care. But the truth is, that fear is just the mind adjusting to the silence. Because when you let go of the noise, what you're left with is yourself. And for many people, that's the part they've been avoiding all along. This is where the real alignment begins. Not in the outer world, but in your internal dialogue. You start to realize how many of your actions weren't rooted in inspiration or truth, but in fear. Fear of being forgotten, fear of being left behind, fear of not being enough. Letting go allows all those hidden limiting beliefs to surface, and it gives you the sacred opportunity to rewire them. Because now, without all the external distractions, you can actually hear yourself. You can feel the difference between chasing what your ego wants and moving toward what your soul truly needs. And it's in this clarity that your life begins to shift in ways you didn't expect. Suddenly, the people who once drained you don't feel magnetic anymore. Suddenly, the goals you were forcing no longer define your worth. Suddenly, rest doesn't feel like laziness, it feels like alignment. You don't need to prove yourself anymore. You just need to be yourself, fully, honestly, and without apology. You stop doing things to be seen, and you start doing them because they are real. You stop hustling for love, and you start creating space for love to arrive on its own terms. Letting go doesn't make your life smaller, it makes it more true. And in that truth, there's space for everything to align, not all at once, but piece by piece, quietly and without pressure. This isn't the path of weakness, it's the path of real confidence, because anyone can cling, anyone can chase, but it takes real spiritual strength to release and still trust in what's yours. There's another layer to all this that often slips under the radar. What happens when you let go and nothing changes right away? No miracles, no sudden breakthroughs, just silence. This is where most people panic. They say, I stopped chasing, I released, I trusted, but nothing's happening. That's because letting go isn't a transaction. It's not a do this, get that formula. It's a rewiring of your relationship with life, and rewiring takes time. What you're doing, whether you see it or not, is shifting the foundation of your inner world. You're trading force for flow, desperation for faith, and noise for clarity. And that's not something you always feel on the surface. That's something you become over time. Most people aren't willing to sit in that stillness. They want quick validation that they did the right thing. But real alignment doesn't beg to be noticed. It unfolds in whispers. You start noticing little things. You're less reactive. You walk slower. You hear yourself breathe. You're not refreshing your messages anymore to feel wanted. You're not performing for people who never actually saw you. Instead of trying to prove something, you're starting to live from something. Something steady, something sacred. And slowly, life begins to respond. Not always in obvious ways. Sometimes, it's a new person who sees you without the mask. Sometimes, it's an opportunity you didn't force, that just walked into your life with ease. Sometimes, it's just the realization that your peace hasn't been broken in days, and you didn't even notice how much noise you'd finally turned off. Letting go then becomes less about the result and more about the return. The return to your intuition, to your natural rhythm, to your unshakable self-respect. You're no longer outsourcing your stability to things outside of your control. You've stopped bargaining with the universe and started trusting it. And even when the changes aren't loud, even when it seems like nothing is happening, everything is shifting behind the scenes because you are shifting. And once you shift, the world has no choice but to meet you differently. Here's the twist most people don't expect. Letting go doesn't always change the world around you. It changes the way you see it. You start to realize not everything that's falling apart is a tragedy. Some things are falling into place. They just look chaotic at first. You begin to see your past differently. The moments that used to trigger shame or regret now start to feel like chapters that grew you not perfectly, not painlessly, but powerfully. Because once you release the need to rewrite the past, you gain full power over how you carry it. And when you stop living in resistance, your entire nervous system starts to recalibrate. You respond instead of react, you observe instead of absorb, you hold your space without needing to defend it. You start saying things like, I don't need to be understood to be okay. I don't need to chase what's not choosing me. I don't need to force a path that no longer feels aligned. Because here's the truth. Letting go isn't just about people or outcomes. It's also about outdated versions of you. The you that needed validation. The you that tied your worth to achievement. The you that overextended to feel needed. The you that stayed quiet to be liked. And when you start letting go of that version of yourself, the world mirrors back something new. You're no longer attracted to the same chaos. You don't engage in the same emotional games. You're no longer begging for love, opportunities, or clarity because you are embodying all three. That's when things begin to align. Not because everything outside you changed, but because you stopped interrupting your own alignment with overthinking, overgiving, and overcontrolling. And suddenly, the things that are meant for you feel natural. Conversations flow, connections deepen, ideas feel inspired. You're not walking into rooms trying to be enough. You're walking in already knowing that you are. There's one final piece people miss about letting go, and it might be the most important. It's not just about detaching from others, it's about detaching from the timeline you thought life was supposed to follow. That imaginary schedule in your head, the one that told you where you should be by now, who you should be with, how your story should look, it's not truth, it's programming. And as long as you measure your progress against that imaginary deadline, you'll always feel behind. But the moment you let go of that invisible pressure, something radical happens. You start living in real time. You begin meeting life where it is, instead of where you think it should be. And that's where actual alignment begins. Not in your plans, but in your presence. You stop needing signs every 5 minutes that things are working. You stop asking the world to reassure you. You become your own reassurance, and from that place, you start to notice the magic in small moments again. A conversation that feels effortless, a sudden idea that just lands perfectly. A moment of stillness where your chest isn't tight anymore. You realize that alignment isn't a destination, it's a byproduct of trust. Trust in yourself, trust in your path, and trust in life's timing, even when it's slower than you'd hoped. And here's what's wild. The less you chase outcomes, the more you enjoy the becoming. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're not resisting it anymore. So here's your challenge. Let go, not to lose, but to align. Let go, not to run, but to return to yourself. You don't need to prove your worth, you need to feel your peace. Because when you're grounded in that, everything changes. If something in this hit you, don't just click off. Drop a comment, even one sentence. Let someone scrolling know they're not alone. Your story might be the reflection someone else needs to feel seen. And if you're done with noise and finally ready to live with clarity and alignment, subscribe. This is just the beginning.